Welcome to Business at the Speed of Coffee, the business program by businessmen for business people about business. To get the program started, I want to tell you about a fellow I was having coffee with just the other day, Marshall Hudson, one of New Zealand's finest and most experienced mechanical engineers with a long history in the building of big things. So welcome, Marshall.
Thank you, Kim.
Tell us about some of the big projects you've built around the world.
The pinnacle of my engineering career was a $300 million desalination plant in Perth, Western Australia, and I was honoured on behalf of my team to receive Australia's highest award for construction excellence from the Governor General.
So
that was
your
a
engineering
big project.
credentials are established. While we're having coffee, we were talking about getting stuck in traffic, which everyone in Auckland seems to do, and what are the possible solutions? And inevitably there are engineering solutions. Tell us a little bit about the way you see Auckland's traffic problems being solved by engineering solutions.
Last century's solutions won't work for the next century.
Oh, great line.
But I've been privileged for the last 2 years to be part of an international group called Hyperloop Transportation Technology.
This is Elon Musk's outfit.
Elon Musk wrote a paper on it, and we're one of 2 international companies commercialising the idea.
So let's be clear, you're not Elon Musk's man.
Absolutely not.
Okay, so you're in another consortium.
It would be a privilege, but I'm not.
And tell us what the group's doing.
What we're doing is right now we're actually building a prototype in Toulouse to demonstrate high-speed travel in a complete vacuum. Okay. So you know, this is serious intercity travel at speeds in excess of 1,000 kilometres an hour.
Oh, that'd solve Auckland's transport problems.
It would, but there's some technical hurdles and there's some time required, and there's absolutely no point in going that speed from here to the airport.
So then how can Hyperloop help Auckland?
Hyperloop can help it significantly because we're also developing, we have developed, I should say, an urban model. In the urban model there is no vacuum and you do not travel faster than 150 kilometres an hour. But the advantage of that is that Auckland City to the airport is probably 12 to 15 minutes versus a car at 40 minutes versus light rail at 50 minutes.
Does this mean digging up the roads and making tunnels and making a terrible mess? How do you do it?
That's another really key part of the opportunity that Auckland has. Auckland is an expensive place to tunnel in, and the NZTA have found and watched Australia build light rail, and it's cost a lot more than expected. But above every road there is a void space owned by the New Zealand government, but there's a space above the road not being utilised. So by using a lightweight tube and a vehicle travelling in the tube...
Let's be clear here, lightweight, what is it made out of, cement or steel?
No, it's a composite
so
material.
Plastic?
It's a reinforced carbon fiberglass.
You're telling me you can put some kind of public transport into a plastic tube?
Absolutely.
And this has got to be incredibly expensive. We know what the America's Cup yachts cost.
No, that's not true. And if you look at aircraft, of all the advances made, all the planes which are viable are made of fiberglass.
Now, I think over coffee you're telling me you can make this tube almost in situ. Is that right?
Basically, we can manufacture it in New Zealand.
Oh, so it's made here?
Yes, not presently, no. But the manufacturing plant could easily be established here. And the attractive thing is that we can produce about 50 metres an hour.
Good heavens.
Of tube.
Now, this is going to be hideously expensive.
Well, that's really interesting. So if you do the real numbers on light rail, and we just look at the Sydney example, which is 10 kilometres long, that's $2 billion, Australian dollars.
We're talking about easy that in this tram.
That's more than $200 million per kilometre.
Yes.
So that's a factor of 3 to 4 times the cost of an overhead Hyperloop.
So you're telling me we can... By the way, this Hyperloop's quicker than a tram, presumably.
Very much quicker. It travels at 150 kilometres an hour.
Okay. How long to the airport? 12 minutes, 14 minutes?
12 to 14 minutes. And
how many people will it move?
We can move 10,000 per hour per tube. So it's in exactly the same requirements as all of the urban studies have shown that Auckland requires.
So get this right. So we're above ground, so we haven't got the problems undergrounding. We've got, what is it, a third of the cost of the tram?
Yes.
Third of the cost of the tram, as many passengers and faster.
Yes.
There's a lot to like here.
Well, you missed one important part. The problem with a tram at ground level is that it completely disrupts the existing traffic.
Oh,
so all of a sudden that existing traffic is jamming an already gridlocked system.
Now you're going to tell me it's going to take 25 years to develop the technology.
Not for the urban Hyperloop. That is off the shelf. So
What do you
we
mean?
have developed that already.
So the technology's there.
It's absolutely there, and we're negotiating with Abu Dhabi at present a 10-kilometre urban Hyperloop.
Oh, really? So it's already a project that looks like it's getting underway.
Yes.
What is the experience going to be like? I'm going to get to the airport. What's it going to be like on this thing?
Well, people worry about getting in a tube, but actually people don't seem to worry about getting in a plane and climbing to 40,000 feet and flying to Dubai in 16 hours. They don't seem to worry about that. So there is a short reaction to get over, but people get over it very, very quickly. And we have inside the tube, inside the capsule, augmented TV windows, etc. So it's a pleasurable and entertaining experience.
The pictures I've seen, it's kind of like being inside an airliner, isn't it?
Very, very much like being inside an airliner without the risk of
Flying.
the ailerons pointing downwards to the ground.
And did I hear it right that it's solar powered and it's sort of green friendly kind of thing?
It's relatively low energy usage, and so by covering the upper side of the tubes with solar panel provides enough energy to power the entire system.
So now I've got an off the grid system
Yes.
and it's running on batteries, is that right?
Each capsule has lithium-ion batteries which are charged at the end of each day from the solar power which has been stored in batteries.
What are the real obstacles to getting this kind of thing across the line in a place like Auckland? From an image point of view, I'd have to say for us in Auckland, it would be marvellous, wouldn't it, to have something that's 21st century that nobody else uses, but what's the chance of it not actually working?
Well, I think politically we have to have a demonstration model operating.
Yes.
But in preparation for a demonstration model operating, which I expect to be later this year, we should be doing the business case now and have it vetted by third parties so that when the largest investment in New Zealand history occurs in urban transport, there is a competitive array of solutions. I strongly think ours is going to be the most competitive, and I also think that it's actually going to be the fastest to construct. As I said, a manufacturing plant produces the tube at about 50 metres an hour, so we can actually produce a kilometre a day.
And
So
that would get us to the airport in...
15 minutes.
No, building the thing to the airport would take a year.
The planning would take a year. The
Yeah.
construction would take a year.
There we go.
Now,
Can you tell me a little bit how we could finance it? Because the city and country are always short of money. Is this something we could get other people to invest in?
I think that's very, very realistic because when people invest in it, they're also investing in a much, much bigger picture.
Oh, okay.
And so our company is open to investment in the company.
So you'd be open to a partnership of some kind with the city or the country?
Absolutely. But the overwhelming financial benefit and the overwhelming attraction of people to get out of cars and into public transport are the real keys.
So they're going to have a modern, comfortable experience. It'll be faster than a car. It'll be quieter. It'll be safer, and it'll hopefully be relatively cheaper to operate.
Yes, and you know, Auckland, the Minister has said they're committing 28 billion to urban transport in Auckland. And if we don't do urban transport in New Zealand, we have roads, we're going to keep on spending 3 billion a year and wasting another 1.5 billion being stuck in traffic. So the economic indicators, to be verified by a business case, are very, very strong.
Now, Marshall, I know that you've been inventing pretty much all your life. But to get into something like Hyperloop and this consortium, can you tell us how on earth did that happen? I mean, you're sitting in Auckland and Remuera on your drawing board or your laptop. How on earth does somebody like you become into a pivotal role in a worldwide consortium introducing, groundbreaking technology like this?
What happened was I was fascinated by Elon Musk's book and story and fascinated by this concept, which doesn't really have any engineering hurdles to cover, but it seemed like a great solution. So I wanted to get involved, and my son lives in Dubai. He works for a large international group called Atkins, and they were doing the feasibility study with Hyperloop for a route in Abu Dhabi. So through my son a couple of years ago, I got introduced to the team and to the chairman. And then because I'd had an awful lot of experience in building pipelines in the Middle East with a bunch of Kiwis under the name McConnell Dowell, I said, look, there's some things you haven't thought about in the tube, and the tube is where the big cost is. So since then I've been very much involved, and in fact a lot of the design work for the test tube, which is now in operation in Toulouse, was done here in New Zealand. Really importantly, the complicated vacuum closure system was designed by a company in Hamilton, and we flew all the componentry to France about 3 weeks ago.
So you're telling me that New Zealand already has a stake in this overseas project?
Any project requires people to really commit to the project, and the company in Hamilton really committed.
What's the name of the company?
Cook and Galloway.
Cook and Galloway. There you go, viewers. And they're an innovative engineering company, presumably.
They make vacuum trucks, and they make the best vacuum trucks in New Zealand, but they're very practical in their capability, so they solved our vacuum problems quite effectively for us.
Isn't it a fantastic story?
Yeah.
And so just by being darned clever, you got involved with the consortium. It's actually funded out of Silicon Valley, is that right?
It's a jumpstart company, so it's funded in two mechanisms. Certainly two mechanisms. First of all, there's a venture capital component, and then there is about 800 contributors worldwide who contribute their time for shares in the company.
So there've been no doubt there'll be doubting Thomases around New Zealand. So another fly-by-night outfit. Is there serious money behind this project?
Yes, there is. There is serious money behind the project, and you know we have built a full-scale 4-metre diameter steel tube at an airfield in Toulouse.
In fact, you're going back there shortly, aren't you?
Yes, I'm going back there this month for the commissioning
So the
of the
tube
line.
is there?
The tube is there, manufactured, erected, and ready to operate.
And you've got a projectile to go in it?
We've got the capsule, which I hope you can see on the wall behind us at some stage, to go down that track. And we've got all the vacuum pumps to suck the vacuum out of it.
Be clear now, this is not pie in the sky, this is underway.
This is very much underway, but in the eyes of skeptics. But I'd like to challenge any skeptic because the engineering is quite straightforward. The reason you fly at 40,000 feet is there's only 10% of the air up there.
Yeah.
And if you try to do that at the ground, very interesting question. Is everybody's heard of the maglev train in China?
Yeah.
Maglev train in China is actually a disaster because it goes very fast. It goes 430 kilometres an hour, but it requires about 30,000 horsepower to make it go that fast. So it makes a huge loss.
Too much energy.
So too much energy at the ground level.
Coming back to your own involvement.
Yes.
So you built some relationships with these people. How do you keep a business, and this is of real relevance to a lot of companies a long way away from the world here in New Zealand. You're part of a worldwide consortium. Tell me where other people that you're working with, where they live and how do you operate?
One lives in New Zealand, most live in the States, Spain and France, and we communicate using
Skype and
Uber Conference and Blue Jeans. And for those conference people, Blue Jeans means the camera's live, whereas
I see.
Uber Conference has just got a picture of you, but actually you get to know and work with people very, very well. And I've spent a month over there last year meeting all the manufacturers and meeting our team as part of the project.
So if we were to go to an urban Hyperloop,
yes,
we would have a tube, but it wouldn't be evacuated.
Correct.
Now, can you just tell us a little bit more why you favour that over just putting train lines up in the sky?
Well, very, very simply, if you put a train line in the sky, a 30-metre span will weigh about 600 tonnes. With our tube, it weighs about 60 tonnes.
Oh, wow.
So
engineering...
From an engineering point of view, it makes a great deal of sense. And also, if you have an express service going through a station or a node, and you go through at 150 kilometres an hour, you're going to scare the people on the platform to death unless it goes inside a tube. Yeah. But inside a tube, it passes by with perfect safety.
I got it.
Really, really important as well is the safety aspect. So New Zealand has a correct concern about safety. Melbourne has really big safety issues with their trams. In Dubai, there is a grade-separated, fully automated rail which in 10 years has captured twice the number of passengers that Auckland has captured on trains, ferries and buses combined.
Yes.
It doesn't have operators and it's never had an accident.
So it's a robotic, automatic...
Fully automated, and that's an essential part of future transport.
So this system won't have drivers in it?
No drivers, no ticket collectors.
Not even that, just walk in where you go?
Might have a safety person or somebody like that to make sure everybody's behaving, but by and large, and this has been operating in Dubai for now 10 years, exactly like this, without issue.
Now, going back to your own personal backstory, tell us about some of the things you've invented, just that are interesting.
Well, for those of you who live in Wellington and wander into the Bolton Hotel, you find a car park which goes up 10 floors and holds 28 cars in a 2-garage space that we invented and started from scratch. I was privileged a few years ago to be awarded Australia's highest construction award for innovative projects when we built a desalination plant. This desalination plant involved a whole lot of new technology, and I cannot claim to be a major part of that, but I had a very innovative team who produced, when you can produce water out of the sea for about $1.20 a cube, and it costs 80 cents to get it from the river.
So in other words, free water costs you 80 cents.
Yes.
This stuff costs
$1.20.
Okay. So the answer is, of course, the world's not going to run out of water, we're going to run out of energy. So
that's really interesting, and we did a lot of innovation to actually bring the energy level down.
okay.
So our plant in Perth was run completely from a wind farm. All of the energy was provided by a wind farm.
Oh, green energy once again, of course.
Yeah. And as a part of New Zealand's transportation, to get away from fossil fueled powered transportation, Hyperloop with solar power and lithium-ion batteries powering the electric drive in each capsule is fully self-contained from an energy point of view.
Did I hear you say when we're having coffee that the capsule, the train that sits inside the tube, sits on rubber tyres?
Yes.
And is driven by electric motors, just like an electric truck or a car?
Yeah, it's powered by lithium-ion batteries. So the whole battery market is changing very quickly. One of the companies that we're partnering with builds buses in the States, and their record distance run for a bus, fully loaded, is 1,500 kilometres without a charge.
See, I think a lot of our viewers would be absolutely blown away by that. I mean, they were thinking that you might get across town, but actually you've got things going 1,500 kilometres on one charge, right?
That's a 660 kilowatt hour battery, which is about 7 times larger than the largest Tesla car. But it's being manufactured regularly, and so, you know, it's the coming way for energy distribution.
Marshall, what interests me is that, you know, there are a lot of people who gamble on new technologies, and we've seen it with Uber and robotics of all kinds. Now we're really dealing with a mass problem, people, you know, moving across the face of the earth. The world's population is aging, it's growing, and now we're inviting people to invest in transport technology. Most of it's old-fashioned. It's roads, it's trains and trams. What is it, and what sort of people are going to invest in a thing like a Hyperloop investment? What's in their minds, do you think? Because, I mean, you're part of this consortium raising money.
There are 2 aspects to that. There's financial contribution and personal contribution. So in our company, a lot of people are contributing on the basis of being paid in shares, and they're contributing out of passion.
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
So this is a design co-op, if you like.
It is, but the concept is so overwhelmingly positive from an engineering point of view that drives the people to contribute, and through those networks we actually encourage each other to go further. So you have to think about the people who invested in planes.
Yes, okay.
You know, what a high risk thing to be investing in. Well, the barriers we have to cross for a Hyperloop compared to the barrier you had to cross to get people flying from city to city in jet planes, there's no comparison.
It's easier.
It's easy. It's much, much easier. And for urban traffic, it's ready now. So there are no barriers to cross.
Of course,
there is only a conceptual barrier to cross.
Which is?
Well, people, it's something new, and people say, well, you know, I haven't tried it, I don't know what it's like, I'm not sure if I'll be happy in a tube. But actually, one ride in a tube or one drive in a Tesla car, you know.
Everyone wants one.
And everybody wants one. So that will change the concept issue will change very, very quickly.
Well, I mean, I can visualise it's going to be whisper quiet, it's going to be smooth, there's no rattling. It'll be
safe for children, safe for old people.
Yeah. So I'm sure the travel experience, not going to need a lot of convincing. And so, get me this straight, in the Hyperloop company that you're involved
yes.
in, there is sweat equity, which
Yes.
is you and some of these other
Yes.
guys who putting it. There's also real money, which are private equity type people.
Yes.
And also you're backed to a certain extent by the Sheikh Maktoum or Dubai, or is it Abu Dhabi?
Abu Dhabi.
Who are actually want to be the world's first, presumably.
They absolutely want to be the world's first.
So, and that gives you a bit of a start. But are there any other projects, that look like they're maturing?
Yes, our competitors, which is Virgin Hyperloop.
That's Musk is involved in that one.
No, that's Richard Branson,
Branson.
is involved in that one. They've just announced in Saudi Arabia they're producing a high-speed intercity system next year. So I think
This is the one with an evacuated tube.
yes. So I think that's ambitious, but I think that urban Hyperloop, it's not ambitious from a technical point of view. It's only ambitious from a political acceptance point of view.
Yeah, the urban Hyperloop, of course, was a lot cheaper to make and the technology is known. In terms of making it, let's say, consumer affordable, in your early calculations, relative to getting on a tram or onto the urban Hyperloop, what's the cost? Because, I mean, after all, we've got ratepayers going to be watching this saying, well, who's going to underwrite this? Is it a good economic decision?
It's a very strong economic decision because when people get on a tram or a bus, they pay 1/3 of the total cost, and the ratepayers pay the other 2/3. When they get onto a Hyperloop, which has relatively low cost and higher passenger capacity, the system will become actually viable on its own right, especially when people step out of their cars and step into it because it's faster, more convenient. We don't travel to Wellington by train.
Yeah.
The reason we don't travel is it's a pain. And we don't subsidise the air travel because it's much more convenient and people don't get in cars to go to Wellington.
And that's a very strong economic argument for the tube. So it'll be really interesting to see somebody trying this train in Toulouse to see if they enjoy the experience.
Yes, yes.
I'd
like to be the first, but there's a lot of other people ahead of me.
Well, I mean, I suspect, if investors watching this show, I think you might be surprised that people might want to be getting their checkbooks out to invest in fact, if they do want to invest in this project, how can they do that? Because I know that we have viewers who are in investment funds and so on. Is there a way that they
probably go onto Hyperloop Transportation Technology website?
Hyperloop, and it's on your screen right now.
Yes.
So they can, if they want to get an investment pack, they can get into it.
Yes.
So there's still opportunities for that to happen.
Yes, but
it's early stage.
Well, it's early stage, but the realisation of the value of the company is going up very, very steeply. So it's
on a trajectory.
So the cost of getting involved will go up quite quickly.
Well, of course, the day the first train runs in Abu Dhabi, of course, it'll be off the scale. I'm sure of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Marshall, we've heard a lot about PPPs, and for our viewers who are not familiar with, these are public-private partnerships where private investors invest in a project. They build it, they make sure it gets built, and it's their responsibility to operate it for a period of time, depending, could be 10, 20, 30 years, whatever the period is. And at the end of that, they hand it back to the new owners, which will probably be a city or a country. And it's very much popular in the United States, Canada, and Europe. And it's a way for countries to get access to development capital. Is the Hyperloop, urban Hyperloop, the kind of project that would be suitable for the PPP type of investment?
It is, but there are very important points. First of all, large value investors really want engineering proof of what they're investing in.
Yes.
And so we would welcome a detailed business case study for this, because you have the Canadian Pension Fund, which is looking at investing in Auckland urban transport and are very serious about it, and the New Zealand Super Fund. But they both will want to see detailed business cases. And so I'd be encouraging the government and NZTA to do comparative business case studies, because those business case studies will then be viewed by private-public partnership, and the one thing that's going to keep on increasing is the demand for transport.
And Marshall, are you on hand to be able to answer some of their questions and so on?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, the website's up on the screen, so if you want to talk to Marshall anytime, if you're interested in this project, he's, as you can see, an absolute waterfall of information. You've heard for the 21st century solution to our problems in Auckland. Watch more of this space, because I think you're going to hear a lot more about urban Hyperloop and a lot more from Marshall Hudson. Thank you, Marshall, for being with us today.
My pleasure, Kim. Thank you for having me.